Welcome to the Channel 2 Wars. Initially, the trend for self-propelled artillery units was set by Germany, but Soviet designers quickly picked up the baton and began producing very powerful and practical machines. In our video, we will not only analyze the Soviet self-propelled artillery unit Su-152, but also tell the story of this vehicle from the perspective of a crew member, veteran of the Great Patriotic War Glazunov Ivan Yakovlevich. Work on creating a heavy self-propelled unit capable of disabling armored vehicles and heavy fortifications of the enemy with a single shot began in early 1942. However, the actual development only began in 1943, when all the design documentation was completed in 25 days. From April 1943 to November 1944, only 670 units were produced. 670 units had been made. The self-propelled artillery unit turned out to be formidable. With a single shot, it was possible to either destroy a tank or demolish a medium fortification thanks to the 152mm gun ML-20S. Due to the design of the weapon, the vehicle turned out to be multifunctional. It effectively dealt with both enemy fortifications and structures, as well as armored vehicles. However, the low rate of fire, due to the 43-kilogram double-loaded shell that had to be loaded manually in a rather cramped fighting compartment, did not allow the Su-152 to be called a full-fledged tank destroyer. Despite these drawbacks, the Soviet self-propelled artillery unit had no analogs at that time. The only vehicle that was close in characteristics was the German self-propelled gun Brummer, which had better frontal armor. However, considering all the advantages that equalized the German and Soviet self-propelled guns, the Su-152 had a greater range of fire with a flat trajectory. The Su-152 saw its first battle at the Kursk Bulge. A couple of dozen self-propelled guns could not influence the outcome of the battle, but thanks to their powerful gun, they served as anti-tank artillery. Regarding self-propelled guns, at least 30 to 35 vehicles of the Wehrmacht can be counted, most of which were well-armored Ferdinands and relatively new tanks at that time. Tiger and Panther. The Su-152s were mainly left in concealed positions, but they often went out for frontal attacks. Veteran of the Great Patriotic War, Glazunov Ivan Yakovlevich speaks about the combat vehicle as follows.
The Su-152 is an excellent machine. We only lacked a rotating turret, like those on tanks. When we faced tanks, we lacked maneuverability and had to turn the entire vehicle to aim. Tanks are quicker, which is why we tried to engage at longer distances.
Ivan Yakovlevich went to the front at the age of 17. Initially, he served in the artillery in a mortar regiment. Then, after being wounded shortly before the Kursk battle, he was sent to a hospital in Tula. From the hospital, he was directed to the Moscow region, to Stalingrad, where his further service was organized.
Those who recovered were sent to the reserve regiment, right there in Tula. And there, officers would arrive and sort us out, deciding who would go where. For example, I was sent to Stalingrad, to a tank unit. In Stalingrad, I began to learn to be a driver mechanic. We were supposed to train for about 6 months, but there was a shortage of soldiers and equipment at the front, so I was sent to the factory in Chelyabinsk. By that time, new self-propelled guns were already produced, and crews for the vehicles were being formed in Chelyabinsk with the assembly of regiments. In addition to the artillerymen, there were many crews, and they also assembled tanks there. That's how I ended up in the crew of the self-propelled gun.
Here is what Ivan Yakovlevich said about his first battle with the legendary German Tigers.
There were Tigers in the ravine, and we stood up above, then began to descend in their direction. After they started firing, we spotted them. Our commander was our mechanic. He had worked as an engineer at the Stalingrad factory before the war, and so we began to fire. The Germans hit us so hard that they broke the lazy one at our self-propelled gun. The vehicle could no longer turn after that, but the German tank was still within the sight of our gun. I faced off one-on-one with the Tiger. I could only see it. The German was firing at us from the ravine, and we were firing back from above. When a German shell hit our vehicle, I was wounded in the face, eyes, and right arm by small fragments from our armor. I wasn't the only one. Many crew members were wounded in various places.
Despite its good protection, the self-propelled unit clearly lacked anti-infantry weapons, and the crew often risked their lives by firing personal weapons. By the way, due to such a drawback, General Giderin criticized the Ferdinands at the time, which also participated in the battle near Kursk. Apparently, this was a flaw in many self-propelled artillery units of that era. Here's what Ivan Yakovlevich has to say about it.
Well, they didn't install a machine gun on the self-propelled vehicle, even though we needed one. The tanks had it, but we didn't. Sometimes we had to climb out onto the armor and shoot from the PPSH.
The power of the weapon is hard to imagine without seeing the Su-152 in person, but the author has given us a rough idea of it.
It was dangerous to open fire right away. You see the target, you give the direction to the commander, he assesses it and gives the order to destroy the target. You aim the sight at the target and give the driver a signal to stop. You need to stop, and then the gunner fires a salvo. You can't stay in one place for long. You have to leave the position immediately. If you don't stop and fire, you can seriously damage the vehicle. The recoil is enormous, can you imagine? After firing, the self-propelled unit rolls back about 1.5 meters. At the stop, you think with every shot, just hoping the track stays intact, while someone was ready to shoot right away.
However, despite its formidable power, the Su-152, like most self-propelled guns, was defenseless against maneuverable opponents. In order to aim at a target located to the side, it was necessary to start the engine, turn towards the target, and aim at it. And all of this was done under enemy fire, often including artillery fire.
We almost lost the entire regiment, 43 vehicles, and in one fell swoop, we liberated Kiev and Bielitserkva. After that, the regiment had to be reassembled. As soon as it was formed, it was redeployed to Orsha, by the Berezina River. I heard about it. They had already liberated Orsha and Vitebsk from there, and only after they had overcome that, they sent us to Minsk.
However, the crew did have complaints about certain parts of the vehicle.
For the driver mechanic in this visibility is very poor. To see better, it was necessary to open it upwards, and if you close it, it becomes even worse. There, in this vision, the glass is 4 fingers thick, and you can't see anything at all.
By the way, this was a common problem for all armored vehicles of the RKK. Of course, this is due to the safety and protection of the crew, but still, the driver's visibility should be good. During the years of the war, a total of 171 Su-152 self-propelled guns were knocked out and destroyed. The remaining units were in service with the Soviet Army until approximately 1958. After being decommissioned, the vehicles were sent for recycling. Currently, there are known to be 3 surviving Su-152s. One unit is located in the Armored Vehicle Museum in Kubinka in good condition. It is displayed in a covered hangar. 2 units are located in the Military Equipment Museum in the city of Yano in Poland. The vehicles are missing several parts and are displayed outdoors. In the Museum of the 3rd Battlefield of Russia in the village of Prokhorovka, there are remnants of Su-152s that were destroyed in battle at the Kursk Bulge. In conclusion, it can be said that despite all the drawbacks of the vehicle, it was successfully used both in urban combat and in open fields. However, with the closure of the KV-1S production program, on the chassis of which the self-propelled gun was built, the construction of the Su-152 itself was also completed, making way for the ISU-152, which was built on the basis of the IS-1. How do you assess the potential of the Soviet self-propelled artillery unit Su-152? Please share your opinion in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to my channel. All of this will greatly help its promotion.